Hello, everybody. Good evening and welcome to Catholic Campus Ministry here at UCF. My name is Brother Adam Neary, the Director of Catholic Campus Ministry here. We have an awesome night tonight. I'm going to keep myself really short, very brief. I just want to offer you all a welcome on behalf of Catholic Campus Ministry here at UCF. We're grateful to all of our guests tonight. I'm going to let Sebastian introduce the rest of our guests, but one word of encouragement for us tonight, from my perspective, is my encouragement is that we have ears that are open, eyes that are open, hearts that are open, to be able to let the truth of what we hear tonight sink into the depths of our being, and let God speak His truth to us tonight through the words that we're going to hear from our different presenters. So again, welcome. I'm going to invite up Sebastian, who is on our student e-board, and Sebastian is going to introduce our next speakers. Thank you.
Hello, how's everyone doing tonight? Yeah, so as Brother Adam said, my name is Sebastian Dominguez, and I'm serving as the spiritual coordinator here at CCM. And with the help of the e-board and Brian, there's a lot of people that were involved in this to make this happen, so I just want to thank you guys for coming out and just hearing what they have to say. And so Brian was the lead point on the other end to make this happen, and just a little quick bio of Brian. Brian is a senior vice president of investments at a global Fortune 100 company. He has been active in many different philanthropic endeavors that has taken him throughout the world. He has served as the executive board member of the Boys and Girls Club, co-founder of the U.S. Institute Against Human Trafficking, NEI, Near East Initiatives group throughout the Middle East. He is active in various global missions, and he is the current board member of the Florida Dream Center, which also has helped make this happen. And he has been doing all this fighting the war on human trafficking. So if everyone could just please give a round of applause for Brian.
Real quick, thank you, St. Paul's Outreach, Brother John, Brother Adam, thank you so much. Also, CCM, what a great organization. What a great organization. And Felipe, where's Felipe? Thank you. Thank you very much. And Angela? Angela, good to see you. Haley? Kelly, with two L's. Kelly. Ashley and Sebastian, thank you guys so much. Real quick, tonight is a serious subject. Tonight it's going to be kind of a rated R version of human trafficking. There's certain things that we won't get into and certain things that we will. But this is for you. We see it and hear it on a regular basis. So we're here for your edification, for your knowledge, and for you guys to be able to gain that knowledge. A lot of times you have to ask questions. So on each one of the seats is a little piece of paper. In the breaks, in between speakers, we're going to collect those pieces of paper, write a question on there that you might want answered, because at the very end we're going to have a panel of the primary speakers, and we're going to be able to ask them questions. We've got a survivor here. We've got two gentlemen that actively are doing rescues and are constantly speaking at different engagements like this. So, and we'll get into more detail of that later, but for your education, there's little pieces of paper on each chair. Write a question down. You don't have to do it right at the beginning, but through the evening, I think it'd be good. I do want to give a shout out to Steve Cleveland here. Steve is the executive director of the Florida Dream Center. I mean, without Steve's help, really the glue of the Florida Dream Center wouldn't be there. He keeps that flow going on a regular basis. So I just want to say thank you to Steve. So on a regular basis, I get asked, how did I get started in the fight against human trafficking? And the quick version of it is, I was in Beirut, I was in Lebanon about 8 years ago now. Wow, time And I was working with an organization called the Near East Initiative group, working with different businesses and organizations all throughout the Middle East. And at that time, it was the Syrian refugee crisis that was going on. Everybody remembers that. And it was my first exposure to seeing young men and women, really children, who were being adopted for potentially a better life in the United States, and what they didn't realize is they were being sold into slavery. And I couldn't turn a blind eye to that. So I came back to the country, United States, and I started doing my homework on kind of, who's leading this fight against these trafficked individuals. And it's not just for sexual exploitation, it's also for labor and a lot of other things. But that's why we call it human trafficking and not sex trafficking, because we're trafficking for many reasons. And I came across a gentleman who I'm going to introduce. His name is Pastor Bill Asasso. And I remember my first exposure to him. He's like, "Oh, you want to join the fight? Okay. Thanks very much. Thanks for showing up." And it's that consistency of being there, kind of like a bad rash, just keep showing up. And Bill finally came to the conclusion that I wasn't going to go away. So thankfully, he started including me with his organization called the Florida Dream Center. And as time progressed, the human trafficking portion of that organization started to grow. And we were lucky enough to have a sister organization pop up called the U.S. Institute Against Human Trafficking. And with that collaboration, we were able to really make an impact. And the organization has been involved in north of 200 rescues in one way or another, which is a huge accomplishment and something, we'd rather not do any rescues, but at the end of the day, it's something that's necessary. So with that, I am going to bring up our first speaker, Pastor Bill Asasso. He went from being a hippie in the 1960s at the University of Colorado. He always loves when I bring that up. To being a successful businessman. He was both an executive at Samsonite Luggage as well as Catalina Marketing Organization. He became an ordained minister and was responsible for the startup of 6 churches from Florida all the way out to California to one in Guatemala that he's going to this Friday. He served on the board of Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Junior Achievements, Florida Baptist State Board of Missions, and he's currently our president of the Florida Dream Center. So with that, I'm going to hand this over to Bill Asasso. So thank you very much. Don't forget about the questions.
Thank you very much, Brian. Guys, tonight you're going to learn what human trafficking is. You're going to learn how bad it is. You're going to get educated. You're going to get mad. And what I hope also, though, is you'll be informed about something you can do about it. If you just get educated and get mad, it doesn't help much. But if you really have some action items, then that's going to be helpful to you. And I'm going to begin by telling you how we got involved. Let's take a look at this slide. I have the clicker. He's sitting over there. What now? Somebody, I'm clicking this. One that says left and right. Okay, so this is Florecita. She's a little girl in Guatemala. And Florecita and her mom lived on the dirt, and we were over there helping a bunch of people who live on the dirt in Guatemala. And in the middle of it, we fell in love with her and her mom. In the middle of the night, Florecita's mom died. And they don't do forensics, they bury him the next day. So we never know what happened. But she was immediately an orphan, living in a slum. And so we had a couple with us on that trip that said, we will adopt her. And that's great, but it takes a long time. So what happened was the slum people said, we will take care of her until you get this done. So I came back to our church in the States, told them, And a guy came up to me after service and said, "Hey, Pastor Bill, I never told you what I do for a living, but I work in special operations for a certain branch of the government. And if you want that girl out of Guatemala, we can get her out." And I was very excited, and we set it up. And I called our pastor down there that works for me and said, "Hey, we can get Florecita." And he was stone silent. And I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "A trafficker just left my office. He put a gun on my desk. And he said, I think you're going to try and take that girl." And he thought, adoption. And he said, "I'm going to tell you how it works here. If that girl disappears, one of your kids will disappear. And you got 3 kids. Here are their names, here are their ages, and here's your address. And you got to make a decision." And I had to make a decision on that phone call, not to rescue that little girl. She's never been seen or heard from again. What if you knew a friend that was raped? It would break your brain, I'll tell you, it would hurt you bad. What if she was 11 years old? What if she was being raped 10 to 20 times a night by pigs who paid to rape her? Welcome to the world of human trafficking. By the way, in the 2-county area where we live, St. Pete, Tampa, there are over 50 girls right now in certain places under the age of 18 that have already been trafficked. So to me, guys, it's not just global, it's personal. And when I got back, law enforcement took me and helped me and trained me so amazingly. You couldn't buy the training from FBI to Homeland Security to agencies. Here's one thing. You'll hear about triggers later in this. I can't look at her picture. And the first time I did after that, I almost threw up, and I would again. So let's take a look at the next one here. What is trafficking? It's enslaving people against their will for commercial sex or forced labor. Could be a domestic slave in a house or a restaurant or agriculture. And victims generally have no identification, no means of communication or support. This is not smuggling. People can come into our country smuggled because they want to be. This is trafficking. Whether they're brought in or whether it's here, they don't want it to happen. This is not smuggling, this is trafficking. Also, victims are not prostitutes. Prostitutes have some freedom for the most part. They can spend some of their money, they can walk, they can shop, they can do certain things. This is not prostitution. You're going to hear today, this is trafficking, and it is light years away. You know, many of you probably heard about the massage parlor rescues on the East Coast just a month ago. And famous people were clients. When they were rescued, those girls were brought to us. And only 8 people in the world know where they went. 4 of those people are here in this room. And I'm telling you that because I hope at some point some of you will get motivated. And you'll want to be on a team that helps these people. It's, for all the sadness involved, it is great to be on the helping side. Here's the point about this, though. Those famous people and otherwise who were caught on video raping these women are getting charged with misdemeanor solicitation. Misdemeanor solicitation. I wish you could see the conditions of a girl who's just rescued. And someday maybe you will, but it's horrifying, put it that way. There are girls and boys sold in cages around the world. There are some chained to beds right here in our country. In your own area here, guys, just a couple of years ago, there was a 4-year-old girl with gonorrhea. Misdemeanor solicitation? I don't think so. I think it's a sick thing we're doing, treating it like that. The 2 biggest rescues that were involved in our state at the time were labor and sex rescues. And one of them was 27 people rescued at once, one 23. And we were very blessed to use our church when law enforcement gets them, bring them to the church, and we have rooms set up for interviews, for food, for intake, for medical. And we're telling you that because you can do that too. You could do that. You could go to law enforcement wherever your church is, wherever your city is, and say, we want to partner with you. And when you need a place to bring people to do what you have to do, use our place. Folks, I'm telling you, I hope you'll do it. It's a beautiful thing. Bad guys take their IDs, or they're too young to have IDs. You know, the average age is still around 12 years old when people are taken into this thing. They're threatened, they're brutalized, they're addicted. We had a 13-year-old boy come to us, and the doctor that saw him said to me, if he gets years and years of therapy, he may be okay mentally one day, but physically, he will never be okay for the rest of his life. Misdemeanor solicitation. Most girls will say this when they come in and they need medical attention really bad. And they say, if you're going to take me to a male doctor, I won't go. I would rather hurt the way I'm hurting than go to a man. Here's a picture some of you may have seen for other reasons. It's the same girl. Different ages in her period of being trafficked. And again, started out as a pretty young girl, somebody's daughter, and ended up like that. Girls have come, of course, to us with broken ribs, internal damage, you can't imagine, teeth kicked out, and recently in our area, under a bridge,